so heartless, and you don't care, and I don't even know what else to find.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to 2023. Happy New Year everyone. Here's to an awesome year ahead of us. I got big plans for the channel this year, but we will have to take it one step at a time. Today's video delivers on what I mentioned last upload, the updated Necromancer setup with Nourish Subsume. Treat this as a direct successor to my Focus 3.0 Nekros Grandmaster 2.0 build, which was a direct successor itself to Nash Prime's original Nekros Grandmaster build. If you haven't checked it out yet, it is a thematic build that revolves around rising an unstoppable army of dead shadows that do enough damage to actually contribute significantly to your kill total. Necromancer builds typically scale better into endurance since your specters scale like enemies. Their attack power scales much faster than their health and armor, to the point that it even starts outscaling EHP. They will eventually get so strong that even buffless, they will kill enemies when you're fighting level 5000s, which is what Nash originally showed. But our goal today is to make them shred enemies even at Bastille Path, where their attack scaling has yet to outscale their EHP. This way, you will get the same feel of the sheer firepower at level 5000 without having to go to level 5000. This was previously solved in build 2.0 by buffing the shadows with the Kitgun residual arcanes. Using Theorem Infection on your Warframe would buff your shadows with the appropriate residual arcane element your Kitgun used. These were massive buffs, allowing you to grant your shadows 720% viral damage by combining two Kitguns each giving Toxin and Cold. We also needed Pillage to strip armor off so that your shadows could deal sufficient damage to kill. This is now in the past. With the advent of Veilbreaker, armor strip changes came into effect. Pillage was no longer needed because Terrify now only needed 167 strength instead of 500 to full strip enemies. Armor strip also became additive for ability and aura-based sources, meaning a 50% strip casted twice would remove it all. Using Terrify as our armor strip frees up our helmet slot, which is where a Nourish came in. The Lua's Prey led to Grendel's rework, which consequently also altered how Nourish works. It now gives viral damage instead of toxin, fully replacing both Kitgun arcanes at once. It also procs viral on enemies that shoot buffed allies in a massive AoE, meaning your shadows can now buff their own damage when they get shot at. It also stuns enemies within radius of the viral pulse, meaning your shadows are less likely to be shot at. Nourish also retains its monstrous energy multiplier, which actually lets us save slots and skip Despoil. This build has actually changed a lot compared to the Kitgun Nekros, so let's take a closer look. The biggest difference is our armor strip comes from Terrify now instead of Pillage. This means we need to place more emphasis on range than before, as Pillage scales better off duration. 235 range is actually super useful on this build because it both affects the maximum armor strip radius of Terrify and also the Nourish AoE stun on hit, as well as the AoE viral procs, bigger stripping, priming, and stunning. 28.2 meter radius on Nourish's viral AoE and a 35.25 meter full strip Terrify AoE. The build is modded with only 139 strength because I'm bringing Maturai for Sling strength and power transfer. This pushes us above the 167 strength requirement to full strip in a single cast and also plus 50% cast speed, which is sorely needed on Nekros. His 4 has an extremely long cast time when spawning new shadows, or if even one is dead from the spawn cap of 7. It is also handy for forcefully teleporting active shadows to you if they're more than 30 meters away. If you don't want to run Maturai, this means you will need to slot on Amber Archon Shards for faster casting speed and also somehow source more strength. Technically, you will be able to full strip without Maturai in a single cast because of Molt Augmented when it is stacked to give at least a 28 strength out of its 60. But this also means earlier on you do need to double cast Terrify to full strip. Creeping Terrify is actually required because Terrify causes enemies to de-aggro your shadows, meaning most enraged targets will stop shooting them, and thus the viral procs and AoE stuns are significantly reduced. Creeping Terrify also ensures they stay in range for your shadows to kill. This build was actually extremely bloated and I barely managed to fit the mons required to strip at range, hit strength benchmark, and still maintain energy economy. We actually skipped over Despoil because the main issue with the build wasn't maintaining energy economy but rather being able to burst casts as needed. While Prime Flow is similar to Despoil by reducing the amount of % total energy Desecrate will burn via increasing energy max instead of offloading drain to health, only by increasing energy max do you create enough leeway to be able to burst cast. A single rotation of your kit when resetting requires you to cast your 4, Nourish, and Terrify. That costs 349 energy and is physically impossible to do without Primed Flow. You would need 4 blue Archon Shards minimum to hit 349 unless you have Tau Forge, but this also interferes with your casting speed shards, and that would leave you with nothing in the bank. Therefore, Prime Flow is a much better choice over Despoil since a single energy orb on the setup will restore 57.5 energy. Health orbs are now base 50 always since the Lewis Prey update, and with Equilibrium, a single health orb restores 126.5. If you do not increase your energy max, a lot of the buffed orb effects will get wasted on overcapping your bar. Every single ability on this build can fully restore your shield gate in a single cast due to brief respite. At 45 efficiency, your Nourish is your cheapest ability and costs 77.5 to cast. 150 energy to shield conversion will make this restore 116 shields. I know I could have used a rank 9 blind rage for 130 strength, which is 170 and enough to full strip with Matarai, but it makes you restore only 112 shields on Nourish cast instead of 113, which doesn't fully restore our shield gate. Primed Sure-Footed is self-explanatory, rolling guard to remove pesky status effects from XMI units as well as iframes as needed to shield gate better in a pinch, or deal with an Acolyte. I've chosen to subsume Nourish over Soul Punch today for basic comfy gameplay. This is the easiest way to play Necromancer Nekros, since you can easily teleport them all to your location, refresh all their health at once, and respawn all of them with a single cast when they die. However, if you want to take this build further, or into Endurance, I would suggest subsuming Nourish over Shadows of the Dead instead. This lets you keep Soul Punch, letting you cherry pick by marking XMI units with your 1 and then killing them to slowly spawn in an entire army of purely Xmas units, namely the Heavy Gunner, Napalm, and Bombard variety. These units have high KPM and AoE as well as crowd control. You can also cherry pick out at least 2 Leech XMI variants which will leech enough health to counter the passive health drain of your Shadow's ability and allow them to live forever. The Theorem Infection Arcane is optional. On the main setup I have today, I have residual Boil Arcanes on my Kitguns that creates heat buff zones when I kill enemies, otherwise you can use whatever weapons you want. Standing in these zones gives a stacking buff that uses Theorem Infection to apply up to plus 360% heat damage to my shadows when I cast them. This buff is snapshotted and sticks on your shadows forever on cast. The exceptions are spawning entirely new shadows or shadows that get killed and are replaced. Sometimes it is buggy and doesn't seem to stack, so you may have to recast your 4 until it works. But once it sticks forever. If you do not want to slap on a 360% heat buff on your shadows, since they're already granted a 127.5% viral or 172.5% with Molt Augmented active against full strip enemies that are also procced with viral stacks. But if you do want to use the residual Boil Arcane with Theorem Infection to give your shadows that 360% heat, I would recommend 2 pistol options instead of primary kit guns. Pistols are just better for 2 reasons. They have better slash scaling builds, and they also have access to Cascadia Flare, a weapon arcane that gives more damage the more heat procs you deal on a refreshable timer. It doesn't require kills, meaning your weapon can stack it very easily, and since we're building heat on our shadows anyways with Theorem Infection, it'll be super easy to rebuild the residual boil stacks if needed. Any source of heat damage can build up Cascadia Flare, and it does not need to be heat inflicted by your pistol itself. In fact, even heat procs produced by your shadows will continue to refresh your Cascadia Flare stacks. This comes in very handy for cherry picking and spawning future XMI units if you're no longer at the 7 shadow cap. The first pistol is a crit stick made with Gaze, Splat, and Ramble. This is basically a crit nuker that chains to nearby enemies. No brain, no aim, and a Ramble for the further 38 meter range on the beam since it was originally meant for Eidolon hunting. Feel free to run Haymaker or Love Tap for more DPS, just keep in mind these two only have 22 and 25 meter range on the beam. Building Corrosive Heat with crits shreds armor easily for raw corrosive scaling, and the 4 status procs from a beam weapon will let you consistently achieve plus 480% base damage from Galvanized Shot. I chose to slot Galvanized Crosshairs here, but you can replace it with Prime Pistol Gambit if you don't want to aim at hands. It would still be well over 100% crit. Eject Magazine helps us reload when you don't have the pistol out. For longer runs, I would instead recommend a Catchmoon for infinitely scaling slash procs. The Catchmoon has force proc impact, which can be converted at 70% ratio to slash procs due to its slow fire rate activating Hemorrhage's bonus effect. You can either run Viral Hemorrhage or Pure Slash with Hemorrhage via an external primer or Panzer. Catchmoon has multiplicative gun CO, which is why we can mod Hornet Strike alongside Galvanized Shot. 4 stat effects, or even 3 on the Pure Slash build still results in plus 360% final damage on gun CO. This will scale into the Slash, and the Primed Bane is important on this build because it double dips and bleeds for 2.4 times more damage. Merciless for faster reloads, and I would also recommend slotting Lethal Momentum in the X list to help with Catchmoon Falloff since the range is only 8 to 16 meters. You lose 94% damage at 16 meters, and the Force Impact proc for Hemorrhage only naturally occurs in the first 9 meters. Projectile Flight Speed will let you extend both of these crucial values. For safety and ease of use, especially for dealing with acolytes, we're bringing a Glaive Prime as backup. This is your generic Glaive Prime heavy detonation build. Killing Blow and Amalgamorgan Shatter to cut the Glaive windup down to 0.5 seconds, Corrupt Charge for 2 times combo multiplier in the AoE, Volatile Quick Return to expand the tiny 4.8 meter AoE to 7.8, Prime Smite to double dip the bleeds by 2.4 times more damage, double Sacrificials for base damage and crits. Primed Fury is the least important mod on this build, but does speed up the swing animation leading into the throw windup. You could alternatively drop this mod for Gladiator Might. The final piece of the puzzle, as always, is our Panzer Pet, which procs Viral Force with Viral Quills. It spreads as easily as Terran Spores, and all tagged enemies are considered Pet Assist to activate Synth Deconstruct for a ton of health orbs on kill. This should be super easy to spread because your shadows will be shooting everything as well. Synth Fiber lets us pick up health orbs even at full HP and funnels into Equilibrium. Equilibrium's conversion rate is also affected by Nourish's energy multiplier, so health orbs are just busted on the setup. Even without Molt Augmented, you'll get 126.5 energy back per orb. Martyr keeps you alive in a pinch, Devolution for infinite cat lives, Radar, and Vacuum. That's it, the final and strongest version of Shadows of the Dead Nekros. The Veilbreaker armor strip changes remove the need for pillage and allows Nekros to innately strip on his kit with Terrify, whereas the Nourish Rework allows you to consistently auto-prime Viral, stun, and apply Viral buffs to your shadows all in one ability. It completely replaces the requirement of the Kitgun synergy, but you can still use residual arcanes with Theorem Infection if you want to stack 360% heat damage on top of Nourish's Viral Imbue. Your energy economy is also easily solved with Nourish's energy effect multiplier, which removes the need for Despoil and lets you run Primed Flow instead to allow for burst cast rotations. If you want to add even more to this build, you can run Magus Anomaly on your operator to group unlucky victims together quickly for easier consistent killing from your shadows. This is the Nekros Grandmaster Necromancer build 3.0. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible, like I've done with covering the Lewis Prey update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. Don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.